Hi friends, what if I told you that bread isn't the problem? The problem is what we have turned bread into. Because for thousands of years, bread was one of the most important foods humans ate. Now, it's one of the biggest drivers of blood sugar spikes, insulin resistance, weight gain, and obesity.
Don't eat bread.
If you eat bread first thing during a meal, that's going to break down into glucose molecules. You're going to get a big spike at the beginning of a meal.
But today I'm going to show you something very different. So I bought these 5 types of Ezekiel bread, and we're going to break down what makes this bread different, why it behaves differently in your body, and how to eat bread without damaging your metabolism. I'll also show you one key strategy that can turn bread from a blood sugar spike like this bread into a stable, sustained energy food. By the way, my name is Dr. Liu, and I've been an internal medicine and infectious disease physician practicing for 27 years. I've seen tens of thousands of people, and I've also seen the disastrous consequences from overeating the wrong carbohydrates. And now we villainize carbohydrates, all of them, even the healthy ones.
Here's why I never eat carbs.
So we have 2 polar extremes. Each of these camps, they actually suffer from the same problem, the lack of longevity. Neither extreme has proven that their way of eating actually translates into longer, healthier life. So let's bring some common sense back to eating real food. And let's look at ancient cultures to see what they did right. Far too many people villainize bread, but bread is one of the oldest foods in human history. Archaeologists have found evidence of bread dating back to 14,000 years. The bread they looked at looks nothing like the breads we eat today. It wasn't made from refined grains. It was whole grains, coarsely ground, fermented, soaked, often sprouted, no preservative, no refined flour, no added sugar. So what changed? Well, modern bread is fundamentally very different.
When you ate a sandwich as a kid, odds are you've had at least 2 slices of Wonder Bread.
Had to be a more industrial solution to make the bread last longer, to be whiter, to be softer.
And instead of whole grains, we now have refined flour, stripped of fiber and nutrients. We add sugars and emulsifiers and preservatives and dough conditioners. This creates bread that digests rapidly, spikes blood sugars, triggers large insulin responses, and that's why white bread has a glycemic index around 100 compared to these Ezekiel breads, which is the closest bread that I can find to match the biological composition of ancient breads, short of you baking bread yourself. So keep in mind, Ezekiel is not sponsoring my video. They did, however, have a sale at Sprouts, and that's why I bought so many breads. There's no way I can eat all of this, so I'm planning to share it. But no matter how healthy you think your food is, it's never good to overeat anything. And I know these breads, they aren't cheap, but you get what you pay for. You know, you buy this at Costco for a price, and you buy this for another price, right? You are what you eat. So I understand that not everybody can afford to buy Ezekiel bread. So what makes Ezekiel bread worth it? Well, it's built differently. And I'm going to sound like a commercial, but honestly, I love reading labels. And when I read their labels, I was so pleasantly surprised at what it said. Sprouted wheat, barley, millet, lentils, soybeans, spelt. This combination creates diversity. There's no diversity here, folks. Most breads have just one plant, wheat, and it's not even all of its beneficial components. If it doesn't say whole wheat, it's essentially starch. And the difference between whole wheat and starch, oh my gosh, it's like night and day. Whole wheat has a bran and a germ. The germ has a protein. The bran has a fiber. So Ezekiel bread should be higher in fiber and polyphenols and much more nutrient dense than your white bread. I also want to highlight the process of sprouting. When grains are sprouted, they begin to behave like a living plant. This process breaks down starches, reduces anti-nutrients, increases enzyme activity, and improves mineral absorption in your body. It also changes how your body processes the carbohydrates. Traditional white bread, this has a glycemic index about 100. Ezekiel bread has a glycemic index of 36. It's dramatically lower, even amongst whole wheat, which is about 70. And why? Because this stuff lacks fiber, it lacks protein, it lacks food structure. All these things slow down digestion. So instead of a blood sugar spike, you get a gradual release of glucose when you eat whole grains. And when it comes to sugar spikes, it's not just what you eat, it's how fast it enters your bloodstream. And this is the importance of fiber and protein and why they matter. A typical slice of Ezekiel bread contains about 3 grams of fiber, 5 grams of protein. And the fiber and protein, they both slow down glucose absorption. They feed your gut microbiome. It activates satiety hormones to get you to stop eating. Protein reduces hunger, stabilizes blood sugar. This combination reduces insulin. But there is a downside. You see all these breads? They need refrigeration because there are no preservatives. And why is that bad? It won't last very long. It's going to rot faster. So if you leave it out in room temperature, it's going to rot. And here's something that most people overlook. Usually Ezekiel bread, you have to find it in the freezer. Why? Because there's no preservatives, there's no chemical stabilizers, but this actually increases its resistant starch to lower the glycemic index even more. This thing may last weeks. That's not normal, folks. That's chemistry. Ezekiel bread behaves more like real food. No additives, no obesogens, no commercial bread stuff like emulsifiers, preservatives. These things disrupt your metabolism and your gut microbiome. If you buy breads that don't have this, you get less metabolic disruption, less inflammation, better insulin signaling. Ever heard of inflammaging? That's a term that describes inflammation that comes with aging. And a big part of this inflammation is because of blood sugar spikes and insulin spikes. Too many people have not only blood sugar spikes, but their blood sugar remains high for too long. So this causes accelerated aging and inflammation, inflammaging. The key in reducing glycemic load is missed when we eat starch. What people do is that they avoid bread altogether, right? The paleo and ketogenic diets and the low carb diets. I don't think that's healthy. Imagine if all the grassy seeds went away, all the grains went away. What would your animals eat? It wouldn't eat like the herbivores, that's what they eat. So modern bread is made from parts and pieces of seeds, only the starch component. And that's super concentrating carbohydrates. We're overindulging it, not just in bread, in desserts, and cookies, and cakes, and noodles, and snacks, and crackers. We're overindulging just one ingredient, starch from wheat. And that's why I favor breads that have a diversity of seeds. And just a quick note before we continue. I see a lot of messages and comments all the time from people who have watched my videos and they didn't realize that they weren't subscribed. So if you find my videos helpful, can you please double check that you're subscribed? It's free. If you like and subscribe, it really helps to get my message to other people. And if you are subscribed, thank you very much for joining me to change the world. So let me read you the ingredients behind this refined starch, and then you can hear the difference. Enriched flour. That means it's just starch. It's wheat flour. It's enriched with vitamins, niacin, iron, thiamine mononitrate, riboflavin, folic acid. There's nothing wrong with enriching it with multivitamins. But if you didn't mess with the wheat itself, it would have had these vitamins so that you wouldn't have had to put it in. Water, sourdough, which is water, wheat flour, or buckwheat flour. Some more buckwheat flour. It contains 2% or less of the following. Sea salt, which contains a lot of microplastics. Yeast, I have nothing wrong with yeast. Malted barley flour, malted wheat flour, enzymes, and ascorbic acid. Not too bad. Doesn't have preservatives. Hopefully no dough conditioners. I'm not sure if it does or doesn't because when they put enriched flour, a lot of times they do have dough conditioners.
Hi friends, I am so thrilled that you want to take charge of your health and take charge of your food. Now, I know nutrition can be complex, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm here to support you in this lifelong journey. So if you point your camera app to this QR code, it'll take you to a link for a free handout that I created just for you. And if you like it, if you want to see other handouts, please go to the link in my show notes and then you can leave me your feedback on what I could do to help you in your journey. Okay, back to the video now.
So I'm going to pick each of these breads and read it to you so that you know what's in it. This is the one that I usually eat. I've actually never tried any of these other ones. I'm going to try that today and tell you, I guess, which one would be my favorite. So this is a flourless sprouted grain bread. Ezekiel 4:9 is a biblical verse. The scripture says, take also unto thee wheat and barley and beans and lentils and millet and spelt and put them in one vessel and make bread of it. That's Ezekiel 4:9, and that is why they put all these ingredients in one bread. Okay, so here's the ingredient list. It says organic sprouted wheat. Generally, if it's sprouted, it's whole grain. Filtered water, organic sprouted barley, organic sprouted millet, organic malted barley, organic sprouted lentils. You know, anytime there's a bean in bread, I'm there. Organic sprouted soybeans, that's another bean. Organic sprouted spelt, that's a version of wheat. Organic wheat gluten, which is basically the protein of wheat. Yeast, sea salt. So I'm not a fan of the sea salt part, but I understand why people use it. And it is a very last ingredient in these two, so hopefully it's not that much microplastics. And ironically, it's wrapped in plastic, right? Okay, so this one is Ezekiel 4:9, but it has flax in it. Okay, it's still flourless sprouted grain. It has a low glycemic index, it says. There's so much you can read on this. Let me read just the ingredients for you. The difference is, okay, it has the organic sprouted wheat. The third ingredient is organic sprouted flax. So there's actually a lot of flax flour in here. Organic sprouted barley, sprouted millet, organic malted barley, sprouted lentils, sprouted soybeans, sprouted spelt, wheat gluten, yeast, sea salt, rolled in organic flax seeds. Okay, so there's one extra ingredient, and that's flax. They're the same price. If you want to get omega-3s, this is it, folks. This has much more omega-3s than this brand. And I didn't know that. Had I known that, I probably would have eaten the yellow one instead of the orange one. But I usually get mine from Trader Joe's. And Trader Joe's, I think it just has this. And then this one, sesame. Okay? So let's see if there's any difference. Organic sprouted wheat flour, filtered water, organic sprouted barley, organic sprouted millet, organic malted barley, organic sprouted lentils, organic sprouted soybeans, organic sprouted spelt, organic wheat gluten, yeast, organic sesame seeds, and sea salt. So really, it's just this with sesame seeds on the outside. Sesame seeds are great. Another source of good monounsaturated fats to eat. It gives it a very fragrant taste, especially if you toast it up. So, okay, so this one is low sodium. This probably doesn't have any sea salt. Let's see what it says. Organic sprouted wheat, filtered water, organic sprouted barley, organic sprouted millet, organic malted barley, organic sprouted lentils, organic sprouted soybeans, organic sprouted spelt, organic wheat gluten, and yeast. You know what? I would like to eat this with the flax, right? No sea salt. I don't know. I'm sure it doesn't taste the same because when you add salt, it takes that raw dough taste out. If you've ever tasted raw dough, if you don't put any salt in it, it does have a unique taste. I would prefer this over that and this over this because of the flaxseed. And then the sesame seeds, I probably would prefer the flax still, you know, even though it does have a little bit of salt. Okay, this one is a cinnamon raisin one. I never knew they made that. Let's see what is this ingredient. Organic sprouted wheat, organic raisin, organic filtered water, organic sprouted barley, organic sprouted millet, organic malted barley, organic sprouted lentils, organic sprouted soybeans, organic sprouted spelt, organic wheat gluten, yeast, sea salt, and organic cinnamon. The second ingredient, raisins. I bet you this is sweet. I love sweet. So if I'm in a craving of something sweet, I would buy this. They're all the same price. I got this at a discount. Buy one, get one half off. I think I paid $9 for a loaf. So the second one is $4.50. I've never actually seen it on sale like this. So that's, I decided, you know, I wanted to see exactly what they tasted like. And so let me go get a plate and let me try it to see which one I like. I've plated all these breads. I toasted one of them. I put the name or just a color under it. I matched it. I'm going to actually try to do this blindfold by taking my eyeglasses off and putting an absolute light blocker in these. I'm going to taste it and judge it based on taste and texture. And then I'll let you know which one I like. You know, obviously the wet one will be, like raisins, I'll be able to taste the raisins. I really, got myself confused when I was doing this anyway, so I don't really think it matters if I shuffle it or not. I'm just going to do it just in case it does bias me. Okay, so I'm going to start here. This one's toasted. This one's not toasted. I'm going to try the one that's not toasted first because it's just the true taste from the bag. Tastes like bread. Honestly, it's a little bland. This one's toasted. Crunchy. I like this better because it's a little bland. The crunch occupies my senses so that I'm not focused on how bland the bread is. But the bread is bland. Okay, this one, toasted, untoasted. Let's see this one. I like this a little bit better than the bland one. This one, the first one's bland. This one is less bland. Let me try the crunch. I like this one. To me, this one tastes like the orange bag that I usually eat. Now this one has a little crunch in it. Very similar to this one. This is a toasted one. I actually like this a bit better, but this one tastes very similar, except it has more texture. Okay, so I have 3, and I should have 2 more plates. Okay. So this is the soft one. I think this is sesame. It has a very subtle sesame taste. It's very subtle. But I'm so used to eating sesame, so I like it. This should taste better because sesame toasted is more fragrant. My parents would like this. It doesn't have a strong sesame taste, but it's slightly more fragrant. This is not fragrant. Very close. These 3 are very close. This one is the blandest. I only have 1 left. And this one feels like the raisin one, even though, because it's just wet. It is raisin. Has a lot of raisin. It's actually really good. The raisin occupies my senses. It's actually delicious. This raisin bread is delicious. And that's not even the toasted one. This is a toasted one. This toasted is really good. I would prefer these 2. This one for my sandwiches. This one for raisin. My mom, if my mom was around, she would like this one, the sesame. This one is the blandest. Okay, so let me take off my hands are sticky now from playing with the raisins. All right, let's see which one's which. This is probably the low sodium one. Blue. It is a low sodium one. That's why it's the blandest. It's still acceptable. So if you guys are on a low sodium diet, this is still very acceptable. I bet you this is the orange one. Oh yeah, see? This is a flavor that I'm used to because it's the only one that I've ever eaten from Ezekiel, right? Now I get to try 5, which is amazing. So this is actually very good. Okay, this is a flaxseed. I can see it, but it does have, this is yellow, which is a flaxseed, right? The texture is very similar, but flaxseed is so bland. But this has the most omega-3s. So even though I like the taste of this, I would probably eat this bread because we just don't get enough omega-3s, including myself. So I would sacrifice this taste preference for this because it's really similar in taste, but I get much more nutrient density by buying the flaxseed one. Okay, this, like I said, was a sesame. I can tell it has an extra special taste. And it is green. Green is a sesame one. It actually tastes pretty good. This is definitely an Asian thing. If you have Asian parents, get them the sesame one. They would really appreciate it, especially when you toast it up. It has more fragrance. And of course, this is my favorite. If I were into like a breakfast sweetbread, I would definitely eat the raisin, Ezekiel cinnamon raisin over any raisin bread in the store. This is actually delicious. And cinnamon is one of my favorite spices. But You know, the thing with cinnamon is that you can't just buy just a random cinnamon. And if you want to learn more about that, watch the next video.